Juno, regardful of Jove's cunning art, lest he might change her to her human form, gave the unhappy heifer to the charge of Argus, Aristoides, whose head was circled with 100 glowing eyes, of which but 2 did slumber in their turn, whilst all the others kept on watch and guard. Whichever way he stood, his gaze was fixed on Io. Even if he turned away, his watchful eyes on Io still remained. He let her feed by day, but when the sun was under the deep world, he shut her up, and tied a rope around her tender neck. She fed upon green leaves and bitter herbs, and on the cold ground slept. Too often bare, she could not rest upon a cushioned couch. She drank the troubled waters. Hoping aid, she tried to stretch imploring arms to Argus. But all in vain, for now no arms remained. The sound of bellowing was all she heard, and she was frightened with her proper voice. Where former days she loved to roam and sport, she wandered by the banks of Inachus. There, imaged in the stream, she saw her horns, and startled, turned, and fled. And Inachus and all her sister naiads knew her not, although she followed them. They knew her not, although she suffered them to touch her sides and praise her. When the ancient Inachus gathered sweet herbs and offered them to her, she licked his hands, kissing her father's palms, nor could she more restrain her falling tears. If only words as well as tears would flow, she might implore his aid and tell her name and all her sad misfortune. But instead, she traced in dust the letters of her name with cloven hoof, and thus her sad estate was known. "Ah, wretched me!" her father cried, and as he clung around her horns and neck, repeated while she groaned, "Ah, wretched me! Art thou my daughter sought in every clime? When lost, I could not grieve for thee as now that thou art found. Thy sighs instead of words heave up from thy deep breast, thy longings give me answer. I prepared the nuptial torch and bridal chamber, in my ignorance, since my first hope was for a son-in-law, and then I dreamed of children from the match. But now the herd may furnish thee a mate, and all thy issue of the herd must be. Oh, that a righteous death would end my grief. It is a dreadful thing to be a god. Behold, the lethal gate of death is shut against me, and my growing grief must last throughout eternity." While thus he moaned, came starry Argus there, and Io bore from her lamenting father. Thence he led his charge to other pastures, and removed from her, upon a lofty mountain sat, whence he could always watch her, undisturbed. The sovereign god no longer could endure to witness Io's woes. He called his son, whom Maia brightest of the Pleiades brought forth, and bade him slay the star-eyed god, Argus. He seized his sleep, compelling wand, and fastened waving wings on his swift feet, and deftly fixed his brimmed hat on his head. Lo, Mercury, the favoured son of Jove, descending to the earth from heaven's plains, put off his cap and wings, though still retained his wand with which he drove through pathless wilds some stray she-goats, and as a shepherd fared, piping on oaten reeds, melodious tunes. Argus, delighted with the charming sound of this new art, began. "Whoever thou art, sit with me on this stone beneath the trees in cooling shade, whilst browse the tended flock abundant herbs, for thou canst see the shade is fit for shepherds." Wherefore Mercury sat down beside the keeper, and conversed of various things, passing the laggard hours. Then soothly piped he on the joined reeds to lull those ever watchful eyes asleep, but Argus strove his languor to subdue, and though some drowsy eyes might slumber, still were some that vigil kept. Again he spoke, for the pipes were yet a recent art. "I pray thee tell what chance discovered these.